You know what I realized? We haven't talked too much about the new Titans Stadium, at least not here. And apparently, groundbreaking is February 29th, which, that's this month, folks. We are beginning the process for building an entire new stadium opposite of Nissan Stadium right now, and all of that's supposed to be done by 2027. So considering even I was a little surprised by all of this happening so soon, I figured let's go through the comments. Let's answer some of the questions that you may have had throughout this process. First things first, where will the stadium be? So what you're seeing right now is Nissan Stadium. We're gonna refer to it as the old Nissan Stadium for the sake of making sure that we're clear here, because this new stadium will also be called Nissan Stadium, you guessed it. So this new stadium will actually be built on the opposite side of where I'm standing right now. And so it will be built on the footprint of where the parking lot is at the moment. So the plan would be to have the team playing at the old Nissan Stadium until the new one is built. And then after that, they just move into the new one and they tear down the old one. Simple enough. Here's the catch. Of course, there's always a catch. We're really not sure what they're gonna do about parking. We looked everywhere, and none of the renderings or plans at this point detail what's going to happen with parking. A little bit more about the stadium. I know you've seen the renderings at this point. There's a roof. A roof. Yes, this is an enclosed football stadium. So what does this mean? Concerts all year round. Football games late into the season without having to feel miserable being outside in the cold. WrestleMania, Final Fours, all of that made possible because of a new stadium here in Nashville.
New facility is a much better platform for Nashville, and it's really an event space where football games are also played, not a football field where you're kind of trying to cram in concerts. So from the beginning, it's going to be multi-purpose to serve Nashville, and it's one of the reasons I think the hotel industry has been so supportive.
Now, I want to say Super Bowls, right? Because many of you are probably wondering, can this thing support a Super Bowl? We've seen where the NFL has rewarded cities for building new stadiums by giving them an opportunity to host a Super Bowl. As I said before, there's always a catch, right? Well, in this case, the catch is the seating capacity.
The new venue would be the smallest in the NFL, with only 60,000 seats, 9,000 less than the current Nissan Stadium.
Why that matters for a Super Bowl is that the criteria says that you have to have at least a seating capacity of 70,000. But we've already heard from Titans executives who say they've spoken to the NFL, and the understanding is if you build it, they will come.
Yes, that's a building that's big enough to support a Super Bowl and all of those other huge events.
Think about Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, for example. Okay, you have the Chiefs taking on the 49ers at the Super Bowl in a brand new facility with a seating capacity of 65,000. Which would make them under the requirement. So it sounds like exceptions can be made, right? What's the old saying? Money talks? Well, let's talk money. The stadium is expected to cost $2.1 billion. $840 million of that will come from the Titans and the NFL. The state promised to commit $500 million as long as this new stadium has a roof. Meanwhile, and this is where it gets a little tricky, $760 million will come from sales tax generated from stuff inside the stadium and things that happen around the stadium. That includes a 1% hotel tax increase. So when we're talking about the hotel tax increase, right, we're typically talking about tourists coming to Nashville to watch a game or just hang out around the city, and then whatever they spend on the hotel, well, part of that will be going toward paying for this new stadium. Now, of course, that's the sticking point for a lot of people in Nashville, because you think of that money. That's money that could be used for a number of different projects around the city.
It's just an all-around bad deal.
I think what most people forget is that Nashville was actually going to be on the hook for renovating the old stadium until about 2039 when our contract ends. And from what we've read so far, it would have been about the same cost. This way we at least get a new stadium out of it. Say what you will about the deal, and I know there are a lot of people who have a lot of things to say about this. Ultimately, I'm curious, what do you think?
One thing we heard a lot about in this process is, what are we going to do with affordable housing? News Channel 5's Hannah McDonald shared what I think could be one of the most compelling stories you'll see all year. Hannah spoke with a woman by the name of Marcia Jordan, who now has a property that is surrounded by 8 new homes under construction.
It has changed tremendously. You can sit on the porch, drink coffee, and talk to your neighbors. Now I don't know my neighbors because they change each week.
When I hear Miss Jordan's story, I mean, it's compelling for many reasons. One, you're hearing her talk about being the last one standing, but you're also hearing her say that the developer next door is building on her property. At least that's what she said. And so we talked to her, and something remarkable happened.
We were both surprised when the developer, Rick Wells, showed up.
I've apologized for the damage that was done to the fence, but when I was here 2 weeks ago, I agreed to fix the fence. It doesn't make sense to fix the fence until all the construction is completely done, which is something we also agreed.
So I'm gonna get my fence fixed.
Yeah,
and I'm agreeing to no other fence over there, not unless it's a foot apart.
We said
12.
This exchange continued for 25 minutes.
So we're gonna move your house this back 2 feet.
No, they can't.
So how you gonna put a fence?
This fence, once we clear this out, we'll have to go.
How you gonna put another fence over here? You're
I'm
not.
not going to put a fence.
We're gonna leave this fence here. Okay.
The truth of the matter is, this is very rare. In our historic neighborhoods, few homeowners get the chance to negotiate.
To repair one window, and
How much I'm gonna get for that?
we agreed to $100.
No, I ain't agreed to no. I'm tired of $100. We agreed to $300.
200, and you got a deal.
250.
200.
250.
How about 200?
How about
I'm
250?
repairing your fence. I'm doing all the landscaping.
I'm helping you. You gonna sell this, baby. I've been here 30 years. You owe me. I don't owe you. You coming new. I've been here 30 years. I done took your abuse all this time, and I'm tired of you.
You know, I've heard of things like this happening before, but this was my first time actually seeing it for myself. There's frustration there. There's been years of frustration. Hannah finds out that this fence that they've been going back and forth about, this fence is actually on the developer's property.
This land survey shows the majority of Marcia's fence and her concrete path are on that property. But really listen to Marcia, and you'll realize this is about much more than a fence.
You want someone to take you seriously.
I do. I do. I want somebody to just respect me. Take me serious and just give me a little respect. If you want to use something of mine, ask me, don't take it.
That's something that Hannah had to figure out for herself. She put it in the story, and I commended her too for capturing all of that, because none of this was going to be an easy fix. It was always complicated. This is a perfect example of that. It wasn't really about who was right and who was wrong. This was about someone who felt that they have been overlooked for years, finally getting an opportunity to speak up and be heard, not just by us, but by the developer who showed up that day. Now, over in Donaldson, they have a different issue that they're working on. Apparently, several streetlights are not operating the way that they should. And so you have entire blocks where people say, we can hardly see anything. We can hardly walk outside at night, much less drive at night. And we all know some of the issues that we've seen in Nashville when it comes to pedestrians being hit.
You're used to dodging the potholes, but when you can't see the potholes at night, it makes it even more difficult.
These neighbors posted on the Hip Donaldson page just saying, let's get together and tell the city that we need to do something about these streetlights. To their credit, NES has said that they are trying to get these streetlights operating as soon as possible. And you know, some of these guys have seen NES out and about, but this is an issue that we see all around Nashville. Let's be honest. There are neighborhoods throughout the city where you can go several blocks without seeing a streetlight on. I think sometimes we don't even really think about it because we might just be passing through. But for people who live in these neighborhoods, this is a constant concern.
NES says if you have a complaint, you can submit a request to fix your streetlight online. All you're gonna need is this number on the pole of the streetlight. That way they can find out exactly where they need to go.
I'm not sure if Nashville has a place where you can contact them and say, hey, can you take care of this streetlight? But if they do, I mean, that's another option.
Curious if it's on Hub Nashville, and I'm looking. It's on Hub Nashville.
Okay, so yeah, it's on Hub Nashville as well.
Pretty good time of year to start doing some walking. It's finally warm after
right?
January.
You know how many people I saw walking out and about in shorts this weekend? Oh my God. People are just, as soon as it hit 50, you know, and sunny. I know people are trying to stay out as long as they can. Once it gets a little darker, you know, you want to feel safe. You remember when I told you about the request that I put in for Hub Nashville?
I do.
It's coming full circle now.
I'm on Jefferson Street, and I'm walking back to the pothole. Last week I told you about this pothole that's on my commute every single day. And so what I did was I went on the Hub Nashville website, put in my request. 2 days later, and I get an email saying, don't worry, Levi, got it taken care of. And it's taken care of. I mean, I wonder how many other potholes we get cleared up. Anyway.
It was just like a form.
So quick, maybe 5 minutes. I had already taken a photo of the pothole, what it looked like, and what's cool is like it gives you a little cursor, almost like Google Maps, and it says, where is this pothole? And you can just place a little marker and say, it's right here. You can put a description if you want to, or whatever. I didn't, I think I just said pothole on Jefferson Street. They found it, and 2 days later, I got a confirmation email saying, we took care of it. This is to help show you just how simple this process can be. It's no longer a problem on my commute. I almost forgot that it was there. When I drove over, I was like, wait a minute, is that the, yeah, sure it was.
Have you noticed more potholes filled in? It seems like they've definitely been making the rounds.
Yes, but some of these interstates, my God, we shut down the interstate for a couple hours. I don't think people will be that upset. You shut it down, take care of it, because I was doing, I was doing this, what is it, the competition in winter sports, the slalom?
The slalom?
Slalom? Yeah, I was doing the slalom with, back and forth, just trying to make it downtown.
We've been getting stories into the newsroom over the past couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
One person saying that I believe it was their son, is an Uber driver and has damaged their car 3 times over the past week on potholes.
And some of these body shops are, I mean, they're packed. They're packed right now. Interesting. Okay. Imagine you've been dating someone for about 3 weeks. Then you find out that this person was diagnosed manic bipolar years ago. A couple days later, your gun goes missing. And then a couple days after that, they use that same gun to destroy your home to the point where you and your 3 kids can no longer live there. Albany Weatherspoon doesn't have to imagine any of this. This was her life just last year. At the time, all we knew was that there was a guy who had barricaded himself in a home in Murfreesboro.
After a standoff, had a Murfreesboro community on edge for several hours this afternoon.
The first thing I thought was, I gotta get my stuff out.
Not long after that, Albany reached out to me, and she said, I want you to know the full story. I've been working on this story for News Channel 5 Investigates for several months now, and what we found out was this guy had a history of mental health issues. Albany Weatherspoon tells me that she's lucky to be alive.
Never in my life have I felt so hopeless to the point where I was like, I have to put myself in danger in order to save me.
There was a point where she noticed that this guy, Michael Thibodeau, was putting some weird things on social media. Right after that, Michael's family actually reached out to Albany to say, did you know that he's probably not taking his medication right now? So Albany confronts him and says, listen, I know you're not taking your medication. You've been posting these weird things on social media, and you've threatened to kill yourself. Let's just go to a doctor. Let's just hear what they have to say. Michael refuses.
2 days before Thibodeau destroyed her home,
How are you? All right, I'm good.
Witherspoon called Murfreesboro police after she gave Thibodeau an ultimatum.
Police show up, and Albany tells them, I can't find my gun. It was here when he was here. It's gone when he's gone. Can't find a gun. They go back to Michael. He's now walking down the street, and they ask him, about this gun, man, can you just help us to figure this out? Michael refuses.
She lied, though. That's why I plead guilty. And that's why I'm trying to prove that right now. No, I just want to talk to a lawyer, son, because she hit me.
So attorneys will tell you that's where the interaction has to stop. We spoke to one attorney, Joey Fuson, who told us that unless police had some sort of evidence to suggest that the firearm was in his possession, they have to get a search warrant in order for them to actually go through his belongings.
So now the man suspected of stealing a gun from the woman who called the cops on him was free to go.
As a matter of fact, police didn't mention anything about a gun. They didn't mention anything about Michael's, mental health, his, well-being in their report. Even though you have Albany telling them, I think this man has my gun. He's going through a manic episode, and you need to check into it because I don't feel safe anymore. She tells them all of this. But police didn't search Michael for the next 2 days.
Police department, Michael, you in there?
Michael goes from that interaction to multiple encounters with police. Other people are now saying this man seems a little off.
He is now trespassing in our pool.
He's threatening people. He's doing odd things.
I've been to heaven, I've been to hell. I reincarnated, man. And you guys are gods. I'm on a spiritual warpath.
I hear you. While I'm watching the video, I'm thinking to myself, if I'm an officer, that might be enough probable cause to, you know, maybe bring somebody in.
Fuson says acting strange is not enough to legally search Thibodeau.
Being mentally unstable or being crazy, as people often refer to, it's not illegal. And it's not grounds for a search.
I think that if I say that my gun was here when he was here and it's gone when he's gone, I think that that should be more than enough.
Every time she calls police, they're saying, do you have proof? Finally, she's like, all right, looks like I have to go get proof to show that this man is a threat not only to himself, but to her and perhaps other people. She invites Michael back to the house. She goes to pick him up. He gets into her car and takes out the gun that's been missing all this time. She says, oh my God, all police had to do was search him any one of those days, and they would have found that gun.
She was recording on her phone just hours before she says Thibodeau barricaded himself inside her home. That's when she says that Thibodeau pulled out her missing gun and threatened to kill himself.
You want me to do it in front of you?
Why are you acting like that?
You ready for it? Let me know when you're ready for that.
Why are you doing that?
Want, right? No, since you want to go out with a bang.
No.
He's threatening her. She hits record on her phone, captures all of this, runs out, calls police, shares the audio recording with them. Now, within minutes, police are at the house and the standoff takes place. 3 hours later, they arrest him. But by then, the home is completely torn apart. Albany is out the money for the damage, and she doesn't have a place to live. 3 kids. Murfreesboro police told us, and they said the same thing to Albany. They stand by the decision not to search Michael at any one of those points because he still had his rights intact. Albany is now working with lawmakers so that they can come up with some sort of bill that would force officers to request a search warrant if a domestic incident involves gun threats. Because right now, there's nothing that says officers have to request a search warrant. That's usually just left up to their discretion. But you see what she's saying here is that had officers made the request for a search warrant, knowing that there's someone who's saying that their gun is missing, they probably could have found that weapon. Michael is now in jail and he has a court date in March. Do you think that we should create some laws to remove guns from a domestic situation, or do you think the laws should stay the way that they are? Let me know what you think. His name was Phoenix Sanders, and back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, he was one of the most prominent magicians in the country, and he called Nashville home. So in the spirit of Black History Month, News Channel 5's Forrest Sanders, no relation, shared the story of a man whose life was just magic.
His advertising was par excellence.
The strangest mysteries ever seen by human eyes. A night of enchantment. Phoenix Sanders, master magician. In person, not a moving picture.
The kids are going nuts. They squeal with delight at his routines.
They'd never seen anything like it before. They went wild. He would drive them to hysteria.
Here's what I'll say about Mr. Phoenix Sanders. I didn't know that we had Black magicians out there like that. Maybe I'm being a little naive. I've only really heard of the Harry Houdinis, of the Penn and Tellers, but then you hear about Phoenix Sanders. And it seems like this man was almost revolutionizing the game back in the day. This is a man who, in spite of all the odds, brought joy, happiness. His job was to make people laugh, make people curious, make people find levity in their lives at that moment, even if there was so much negativity happening around them.
There was no one he'd rather share a stage with than daughter Carolyn.
That was special. Wherever we go across the country, if he had a show, I would be on stage with him.
One of Phoenix's favorite routines was making a box of Wheaties vanish and suddenly appear in a portrait of Carolyn.
Did you take the Wheaties box, Carolyn? There it is.
So that's why I think we need more stories like this.
Have you been to a magic show as an adult?
Yes, I have.
What is the sigh for?
Because I don't feel like an adult when I'm watching it. I feel like I'm just brought back to being a child, and I'm just sitting there in awe. And moments, like there are moments where I'm like, okay, relax, like just Remember, Levi, this is a show. This is an act.
I think that's the point, though.
Yeah.
The joy of it is not trying to figure out what they're doing. It's just.
But so many people are kind of like me, where they don't want to be fooled, and so the entire time they're just thinking, where's the thing? Where's the trick? Where's the thing that's supposed to move my my attention this way, and then you do this behind your sneaky little hands. Yeah, like that. I think there are a lot of people in that camp. So once again, just a reminder, News Channel 5 is hosting a Black History Month special on February 29th. We are combining a lot of these stories, just like the one we just told you about. We're combining these stories and sharing them once again, on the 29th, so you can watch some of the examples of the rich history of Black history here in Nashville. But yeah, join us February 29th. Until then, share, like, comment, give us all the feedback you can. We love to hear from you, and we want to know how we're doing. I think that's it. And that's it.